All right, it's time for our live. So today's episode is sugar poison? Is sugar poison? As always, we're gonna ask anybody coming in on the chat to, if you're not too shy, let us know where you're watching from. We're streaming across multiple platforms, so not all of you will be able to see everyone's comments, but I will be able to see them and respond. So today's topic is a really good one because it's holiday season, and if there's any time of the year that we find ourselves indulging a little bit too much, it's during the holidays. And I'm not going to act like I'm any better than y'all, but for me, knowledge is power. There's nothing more freeing than having knowledge, and when and understand, it helps us to make better decisions, more informed decisions. Okay, especially when it comes to our eating habits and our choices. Um, so this live is going to be more of an informative live, but I also hope that it serves as motivation. So we ask ourselves this question, tonight: is sugar poison? Is sugar poison? So first of all, we're going to decide how to define a poison. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and let the U.S. Drug Administration, Food and Drug Administration, see what their definition of poison is when it comes to food, since their job is supposed to be to protect us, right? And as protect the public from harmful substances. So we'll see, based on their definition, is sugar poison. So of course, if you have opinion on it, I want to hear it. Do you think sugar is poison? Is what is a poison? First off, like, is a poison something that kills you fast? Is it, if it kills you slow, it's not poison, right? Is there a difference between how fast it kills you versus how slow? Is a poison something that disables you and slows you down? Does it, if it doesn't affect your daily function, and you can still live a long life, is that then therefore not a poison? So I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys have to say. I don't want hopefully I'm not the only one who has opinion on the topic. But is sugar poison? I know we all agree that sugar is not good for us. We all can agree that it's definitely not a health food, sugar. But is it poisonous? How toxic it is? That's what we're going to describe in this next 30 minutes. I want to show how toxic sugar is. This will be definitely a live you want to share with your family, share with your friends, especially those who maybe are struggling with chronic disease, those who are struggling with sugar addiction. Like I said in the beginning, information can be motivating. Information can be motivation. So use this live as to not just educate yourselves, but educate family and friends. But yeah, I don't want to. There's a lot we're going to go over on the biochemistry of sugar metabolism. So I want to get straight into it. I want to take too long. But as I'm going through this live, if you guys have questions, feel free to share your opinions. This is open-ended live, okay? And for those who are maybe watching for the first time, my name is Louis Bertis. I'm a physician assistant and diabetes reversal health coach. We'll make sure that you have an opportunity that you don't want to miss at the end of this live. We always give something free away. So definitely watch until the end. We'll be probably talking, I said, until hopefully 7:25, 7:30, we'll be done, right? So is sugar poison? So like I said, I think the best place to start really is to let the U.S. Food and Drug Administration define what a poison is, okay? So, because it's their job to protect us, right, and keep us safe. So, U.S. Food and Drug Administration deems a food to be, I'll just read it here. A food shall be deemed to be adulterated, right, poisonous, insanitary, etc., if it bears or contains any poisonous or deleterious substance which may render it injurious to health. So, I like that they include not just the food itself, but additives, anything that's added to the food that is deleterious. I'm not sure if I'm saying that word right, but deleterious, harmful to the health in some way, injurious to the health in some way. Okay, so does sugar fall into this category? Well, we're gonna go into it and find out. And see. In next question should be like, okay, if we know sugar is poison, why is there not regulations on it? Okay, that's what I want us to think about. If we really think, if we do come to the conclusion that it's poison, and U.S. Food and Drug Administration agrees that you don't put poison in food, why do they allow it? Okay, but that's we're not we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay, so I want us to think about that, right? If food is poison, then why is it in everything? If it isn't poison, then yeah, then I mean we should allow it in things. So first, to understand what sugar is, and we have to understand what a carbohydrate is. So we're going to do a really quick, um, I guess, description on that. If you have questions, definitely, I'll do my best to answer them. Yes, Doretta, sugar can make making you feel tired. There's definitely reasons for that. You know, so we should definitely do a live more on this topic because there's so many ways you can go with this. But a carbohydrate is a single or chained branch of sugars. Okay, so think of a carbohydrate as either a single or multiple sugars branched together. That's why when people eat carbs, they tell you you're eating sugar, right? But it's a very broad term, right? Because an apple, if someone eats apple, someone eats a orange, they're telling you it's sugar. Someone drinks Tang, orange drink. They say it's the same thing as orange juice because they both have sugar in it. But there definitely is a difference. We're gonna go into the difference, but mainly understand that some sugars are single or double bonded, right? So there's only two molecules. Uh, and then there's some sugars or carbohydrates that are long chained, right? When there's a long chain of sugar molecules, it's complex. Should make sense. Complex is complicated. When it's simple, right, it is refined. When it's simple, those are refined. It's almost like you took the complex and you chopped it up to make it simple. And that's how you get table sugar, right? That's how you get high fructose corn syrup. You take a complex carb and you chop it into simple carbs or smaller molecules bonded together. I think we could probably guess which one is more harmful to your health, right? Definitely not the complex carbs, but when there are monosaccharides or different types of sugar molecules. Single molecules, you have glucose, fructose, galactose. Glucose is found abundantly in nature. Fructose is found in fruit. Galactose is found in milk. Okay, that's milk sugar, right? All having a sweet taste. But the sweetest, of course, is the one we want to use in our food, right? So that's why we go with sucrose. Sucrose is basically a two sugar molecules, glucose and fructose together. That's how we get table sugar. Sucrose is the white stuff, okay, that we add to our beverages and our pastries and our snacks and cookies and etc. We also have high fructose corn syrup. I'm sure everyone is familiar with high fructose corn syrup, which has the same chemical structure as sucrose, having glucose and fructose bonded together. Okay, I'm hoping I can do this and just and have it make sense to everybody in a short period of time. But the understanding that you want to have is that when you have something that's simple or refined, it has when it comes to sugar, it's usually table sugar like sucrose or high fructose corn syrup, which has fructose and glucose bonded together, two molecules bonded together. Now, why that's important is because glucose and fructose are different. Okay, glucose does not operate in the body like fructose does. So when we think of sugar, now we have to ask ourselves, okay, what kind of sugar is this? Is this sugar from glucose, which we get from breads and pastas and starchy vegetables, starchy foods, potatoes, beans? That's glucose, right? Um, or fructose, which comes from fruit or the derivatives of fruit. Okay. When you have glucose in the body, the whole body uses it. Okay, so everywhere from your brain to your feet is using this glucose for energy. The whole body. What's very interesting is what happens in the liver, and this is where we go to the poisonous part. Okay, so when you have a bread, right, or anything starchy or glucose rich, 80% is going to the body, 20% to the liver. Okay. So not the same thing, not the same story when it comes to other substances. For example, alcohol, right? When you drink alcohol, a lot of that goes to the liver. Same thing with fructose. So when the fructose part of the fruit, okay, or the sweetener, the fructose part of that two bonded strand chemical uh, is going straight to the liver. That fructose is going straight to the liver like a guided missile. It's ending up right there in the liver, and it goes nowhere else. You have to understand this. This is the same thing that happens with alcohol, right? When we have alcohol, unfortunately, what happens is the same thing. The vast majority of those calories from the alcohol ends up in the liver. So you can imagine that we're having a problem, right? If you're having a rush of any food substance all going to the liver at one time. Okay. So we're gonna go pretty quickly through this. I hope I'll probably revisit this concept later on in later lives. Um, because yeah, it's something we need to understand. We really need to understand this. Okay. So when you understand another aspect of fructose and glucose being different, it's how our body responds to it when once it's consumed. So when you take something that's full of fructose, right, not glucose, fructose does not suppress your appetite. Okay, there are certain appetite suppressing hormones, or an appetite stimulating hormones. Okay, unfortunately, fructose does not respond by telling your brain to say, "Hey, slow down. It's time to stop eating or drinking." The same thing that happens when you're eating other carb-rich sources that like glucose. So other carb-rich sources that are rich in glucose, they can tell your brain to stop eating once you had enough. Fructose cannot. Fructose does not stimulate or communicate to the brain that you are full. That's why you could drink soda after soda and still feel hungry, right? There's no trigger in the brain that you're satisfied as far as calories in. Okay. And again, we already talked about the problem that is metabolized only in the liver. So, right. So let's do some math here. Okay. Um, so let's say we're eating 2 slices of bread. Remember, the bread is 50% glucose, about 50% fructose, right? And so let's say there's 120 calories in these 2 slices of bread you're eating. 120 calories. Okay. So I might have to take my calculator out for this. Okay. So 50%. So we say 80% is going to the whole body, right? So if we take the 120 calories, okay, and that's about 96 calories that the body is eating, right? Now the 20% left over is going straight to the liver, right? So now you have about 24 calories, as we see right here, about 24 calories that are going straight to the liver. Not bad. I mean, it's not a lot, okay? Um, and there are normal processes that happen that occur during this time. You can see in this circle, this circle represents a liver cell. Okay, so when you have it, the glucose goes into the liver and ends up in the liver, being converted through enzymes into glycogen. So glycogen is how we store glucose for energy later, right? A little bit of it can end up as triglycerides. That's the TG in that circle there. So the TG is triglycerides. So triglycerides are another form of energy storage. So triglycerides, think of them as fat fuel, right? It's fat. This triglycerides are stored in fat cells around the body and also in the liver to make sure that you have adequate energy when calories are low. Okay, nothing wrong with this in when your body is balanced. Now, so let's see what happens then with alcohol. Now we can all agree alcohol is poison. I mean, maybe I don't know if anyone disagrees with that, but alcohol is toxic, is poison, right? That's why the Food and Drug Administration puts limitations on alcohol. There are some limitations, for example, on how old you can be when you drink, right? Certain days of the week it can be sold, right, or hours where it can be drunken, because they know that this is very toxic substance. But I want you to see the similarities between alcohol and sugar. Okay, that's a takeaway for this life. Okay, when you take alcohol, now let's say the same 120 calories of a shot of liquor. Okay, let's say there's 120 calories in a shot of alcohol, and 80% is going to the liver. Now that's 96 calories. 96 calories in that one little drink is going straight to your liver. See, It's a volume issue, okay? And that's what makes it so poisonous. There's a saying, the dose makes a poison. So it's a very high dose of calories going straight to the liver that the liver now has to ramp up and metabolize very fastly. There's certain things that are byproducts metabolism. Acetaldehyde, I can never say that right, is a toxic substance that's produced during the breakdown of these calories. Then the body proceeds to take it down further, right, in the middle of that circle to another pathway that causes a vast increase in cholesterol, VLDLs, as very low density lipoproteins, triglycerides, the TG that also shoots up. The FFA is free fatty acids that are built up, right? Because what the liver is trying to do is try to take these calories and store them as efficiently as possible, right? And unfortunately, a lot of those calories have to be stored as fat, right? Because when your calorie cup is full, the excess turns to fat, right? So now your liver is storing fat, and we have a fatty liver through years of drinking. We have insulin resistance because we talk about this a lot in this channel, that insulin resistance is caused by fat stored in tissues like the liver and muscle, right? That's why we know that alcohol is toxic. It's poisonous, right? That's why people die from liver disease, cirrhosis. Um, Okay, going to the next slide. Is there much difference now between that and fructose? Um, Not much. Okay, so I'm just going to spoiler alert: juice, apples, fruit in its whole state does not operate the same way as refined sugar. Okay, refined sugar, the simple sugar, when it's broken down. Okay, and the fiber is removed, because the fiber is what slows this process down. But let's say you take the fiber out, and now you're left with the fructose. So now you got the 120 calories of orange juice, right? I mean, orange juice isn't bad, right? But you got 120 calories of orange juice, and now half of that is going. So half of that is fructose, right? And that's going to the liver, and you got about 20% of the glucose going to the liver. So it comes out to about 72 calories. All right. 72 calories from that drink is going straight to your liver, nowhere else. I don't know if anyone's following me. I don't know. I hope I'm not alone out here and seeing the problem. Okay. It's the dose, it's the speed, right? So now you got a rush of calories to the liver, right? And there's now the liver's got to work overtime, right? It's got to wake up all those cells and all these pathways to start working to metabolize these calories that you're dumping on it, literally dumping on it. So many of those calories end up shooting up. Thank you, Tracy, for letting me know you're with me. It's quiet tonight, so you'd always like to hear somebody's with me. But you got a pathway that increases uric acid and gout and high blood pressure. Of course, there's glycogen storage. Some of that storage is stored as glucose, a form of glucose glycogen for energy later. But because there's so much calories to churn, the fat production goes up, right? Now you have fatty droplets in the liver that are being fed, free fatty acids are flowing through the blood, triglycerides are increasing, same muscle insulin resistance from that increase in fat and that's flowing, right? Remember, because fructose doesn't tell your brain to stop eating, you're on your third glass of orange juice and you're wondering why you're still hungry. You're because it's not going to tell you to stop. You could keep drinking juice and juice and juice and drinking, or pastry or snack, whatever, and not be satisfied because it doesn't tell your brain to stop. Who do you think this benefits? Food companies or the people? To have a substance that's addicting and doesn't satisfy you so that you can continue drinking and eating, right? Um, so now what's the difference though? There's a big difference between this and fruit and fructose in its whole form also has, that's right, yeah, the food company, y'all. Yep. Tracy, you're right. So the problem is now, we take the fiber out, we take the things that slow the absorption of that fructose to our liver, and it goes straight to our liver. I'm gonna, for time's sake, I'm gonna skip some of these slides, but these slides basically show you how much fat production can go up when you have a diet that's high in sugar. Okay. um, when people are fed sugar in excess, the production of fat goes up significantly in the liver. um, So it's interesting when I practiced, and I did this. I think was the last maybe 2 weeks ago, we or so. I did a live on the liver. Definitely watch that in our description. If you haven't watched that, go back to our video list. Very informative. But we have this term called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that's been used for a very long time. But before that, we just called it liver disease because it was assumed that alcohol causes liver disease, right? We assume as practitioners that when we do your liver enzymes, when we do ultrasound of your liver and there's fat and the liver enzymes are spilling into the blood, right? Because the liver cells are dying, we tell you to stop drinking alcohol. That was the conventional wisdom. But nowadays, we know that alcohol has been replaced by sugar. And the same thing that alcohol does, sugar does. So now we have to call it non-alcoholic liver disease, or we should just call it sugar liver disease, I guess, because it does the same thing, right? And damaging our liver, and you don't live long, when you're in that end stage of liver disease. So yeah, so let's go to the question that we asked in the beginning: is fructose fruit or poison? What do you guys think? Is it food or poison? If it's poison, there should be regulations on it. In my opinion, the food, our government should be protecting us, setting some kind of regulation, maybe even an age limit. Think about that. An age limit on sugar. Oh boy, you're gonna put some companies out of business, huh? Frosted Flakes and Fruit Loops getting replaced by a healthy oatmeal. But guess how many lives would be saved if we had an informed public, at least, right? If not a government that actually regulated poison in food. But there is a difference between the fruit from kiwis and apples and orange and grapes and strawberries. Okay, next time someone tells you that's sugar and it's unhealthy, you're going to understand why in the next few slides. Okay, as we come close to an end. But it depends on the dose, right? When you take the fiber out of the food and you're left with juice and cakes and pastries, you're left with a poison, right? You're left with something that's going straight in a concentrated form to an organ that becomes overwhelmed and diseased. Okay, and so there are many different names that, of course, food companies are getting smart, intelligent. They know that the public is triggered by sugar, right? So they hide it by in many different names, right? There's probably more than 75 different names, but they hide the name sugar in their product. But the problem is there are so many products out there that have refined sugar in them. Um, yeah, it's very hard to eliminate sugar in your diet if you're not eating whole foods. If you're not eating a whole food diet, or as we call whole food plant-based, right? When you're eating refined foods, it's very hard not to have sugar in your diet. It's not very hard not to have it in some way, or shape, or form. Okay, because it's just added to everything. Why they add it? This is a short slide on the power of addiction, because they know that when your brain is hooked on sugar, it's the same it lights up the same centers as cocaine. And there's studies, MRIs, so you could see that the same centers of the brain for cocaine are lit up by sugar. So it just makes sense that food companies are going to, guess what, use you as a guinea pig and get you hooked on their product by putting sugar in it. Right. There's no reason why sugar should be put in peanut butter. It tastes fine without sugar, but they know if there's sugar in it, you're more likely to be addicted to it. So you're going to be like this rat in this experiment that was set up a long time ago by Peter Milner and James. Look it up. And what they did was they had this rat. Basically, they probed the brain, the part of the brain that's triggered by pleasure, the pleasure center, right? The same center that sugar lights up, and they had the rat push a button to stimulate that center, almost like give him a shot of sugar, right? A shot of pleasure. And because he had such easy access to the pleasure center, he did nothing but stimulate the pleasure center, even at the even to the point where the rats didn't sleep, the rats didn't eat anything else. They stopped mating, and they died from exhaustion and starvation because all they wanted to do is stimulate the pleasure center. Now, before you judge poor little rat, how much of us are just like this rat? We go to behaviors that we know are bad for us because we can't stop because it feels good, even though it's killing us. The food industry has turned us into lab rats. And sugar, they are wired, they have wired themselves to us by sugar. Um, Wanda, I don't know if you're just coming in. The question she said you're writing, the question needs to be more specific. Are you referring to sugar as a category of nutrients, including fruit or refined table sugar? I don't know if you're watching, watch it from the beginning. I don't know if you're just checking in. I think we talked about basically that question. We addressed that. So watch from the beginning if you haven't. Okay. But yeah, great question, right? But yes, we are talking about the refined sugar, not the complex carbs, okay? As we described in the beginning of our live, okay? But so as we're coming to a conclusion, hopefully together, though, my friends, we probably would agree that sugar is poison, the refined sugar, right, Wanda, the refined sugar. Um, so this is interesting. Now, if we go back to the FDA definition of poison, right, and where they'll step in to regulate, there's a but, right? And every time there's a but, it almost nullifies everything that comes before it, right? But let's go back. So according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, adulterated food, a food shall be deemed to be adulterated if it bears or contains any poisonous or deleterious substance which may render it injurious to health. Well, we've already determined that sugar in its highly refined forms, that's added, whether it's added or just the fiber and nutrients are stripped from the food, leaving behind a high dose of fructose. Um, we know that's poison. We know that's harmful to our health, but there's a but here. But USDA says, U.S. Food and Drug Administration says, but we will not regulate, but not with the prevention of chronic diseases, even though its own regulations explicitly postulate the connection between such products and such diseases. In other words, we will deem it poison unless it causes chronic disease. Even if we know that this food product leads to chronic disease, we're going to leave it alone. And that's the but case. We don't care if it kills you slowly. We only care if it kills you quickly. What do you guys think about that? We only care we only care if it kills you quickly. So, yeah, if you take sugar in, if you drink soda, you're not going to die. You'll be fine, right? But understand this, when our diet is comprised of a high amount of refined sugar, you are poisoning yourself slowly. And I hope you understand the science behind this. So, looking forward, if we look at how God has, oh, sorry, Wanda, just reading your comments here. Yeah, I got you. So you're just talking about the inaccuracy of the public. Yeah, and that's why we got to have these lives. Share these lives with family and friends, inform the public. I think we have unfortunately, a highly uninformed public, and it's not their fault. Okay, it's not their fault. Unfortunately, we're bought and sold by industries. Okay, our medical practices, the information we see in social media is bought and sold by industries. Okay, that are in it for a profit. Whole plant-based foods have fiber, they have water, they have antioxidants and phytochemicals, micronutrients, macronutrients, all this combined. But when you take it away, you're left with poison. Okay, that's usually how poison is made. It's usually made from something that's wholesome. You tweak it a bit, like a chemistry lab set, and you put it in food. Okay, and get the public hooked. But fiber is what we want. We want more fiber. So if you want, instead of grabbing, let me go back to that slide. Instead of grabbing apple juice, eat the apple. And now, of course, if you're drinking occasional juice, apple juice, orange juice, I'm not against that. But especially if you're already suffering from a chronic disease, then it probably I would say limit it, right? Limit it, if not eliminate it, limit it. limit it. Hope that makes sense. Okay. If you're suffering from chronic disease, if you're not, then maybe you can drink it a little more. But because at least when you're drinking some of these other juices, they don't have added sugars in them. If you're going to start there, don't get juice with added sugar. But for best health, eat the whole fruit. Eat the whole fruit. Because it has fiber to slow down its digestion and absorption. Another perfect example of making a good, healthy food choice this holiday season, go for the whole fruits instead of the dried apricots. Unfortunately, I didn't set up my slides correctly, but this is supposed to show you that the amount of calories that are in apricots versus that are whole versus dried. So this is half a cup of dried apricots. This is actually in the Mastering Diabetes book, pictures. These are great. So I don't know if you guys can, if you guys were to guess which one has more calories, a bowl of 9 apricots or just a small half cup of dried apricots, which has more calories, would you guess? For time's sake, I'm not gonna wait for answers, but yeah, I want to know. What would you guess? Think about it. Think for a second. Which has more calories? Can you sit down and eat nine apricots in one sitting? But you definitely could eat half a cup of dried apricots in a second. However, they both have the same amount of calories, right? So by the time you eat that bowl of dried apricots, you've had um, 3 times as much calories as you would have had if you, um, you know, um, eaten whole apricots, right? The dried apricots, are calorie rich because it's nothing but fructose concentrated, right? And glucose and fructose concentrated with a lot of the fiber, water to that the filler, the 0 calorie part of the food removed. Calorie rich foods. Another example of this, and I'll close with this because who doesn't love Oreos, right? Oreos, you got Oreo ice cream, you got Oreo. I mean, what was that? I think I saw. Yeah, I don't know what don't you see Oreos in? Oreos is in everything. Oreo cake, every ice cream, Oreo donuts, Oreos is in everything. So, but how much do Oreos fill you, right? Because it's highly concentrated sugar with no power to fill us physically. We overeat it, right? 2 Oreos has the same amount of calories as if you sat down and ate 2 cups of cantaloupe, right? So I want us to understand something as we close tonight. Fruit is not the same. Oh, Wanda, you good? Then I'm glad. Actually, no, I can't say I don't like Oreos because I mean I think I can't understand people who love them, but I'm definitely an Oreo fan, or used to be, I should say. But there's some people who love Oreos. I never got that, but it's something that you could see is a perfect example how you could easily overeat something that is refined, that is full of refined sugar. Um, so when people sit down and eat fruit, it's not the same as eating sugar. I hope these pictures, if you take anything away from this live, next time someone makes you a villain for eating fruit, it's funny because the same people will be sitting down eating a pack of Oreos. All right. Wanda, asked, does it work to rehydrate the dried fruit? Of course, it's a good way to preserve through cold, snowy winters. I mean, that's a good question. I would think so because if you're able to rehydrate, because I'm not sure that I've never seen that done. Rehydrating dried fruit, but the principle is really for me, if you are already if you're diabetic, like that's the people I work with in this program, if you are diabetic, right, I would say go ahead and enjoy occasional dried fruit because it's convenient. But if you're still struggling with high blood sugars, high blood pressure, then eliminate that, right, and stick with the whole fruit. Okay. If you're a healthy individual, go ahead and enjoy your dried fruit. Try to get the dried fruit without sugar added to them, but always know the healthiest choice will always be the closer to the ground, tree, and vine. The closer it was to God's original design is best for you. Okay. And the other day, she writes, the other day it was posted that Oreos are vegan. Yeah, you're right. Another weight, all ingredients are artificial, even though chocolate, I'm not sure, but I don't want them now. I used to love them. Yeah. Yeah. Oreos are technically vegan, right? So it makes it good, but we know it's not, doesn't mean it's good for us. So that's about the time we have. I actually went a little bit over. Guys, if you have questions on this topic, I'll try to come back and check out your questions. But I want to close with this opportunity that you all can take advantage of. It's a new year upon us. A new year is coming. Okay. And I don't want us to miss out on a chance. If you or a loved one has diabetes, we're having a free 3-day diabetes reversal workshop. Okay, so this is your chance to scan the QR code, get in ahead of time. I'm not charging for this 3-day event. It's absolutely free. And in this event, I'm giving you the best of my program for absolutely free. You're going to get tools, you're going to get instruction, you're going to get personal guidance for 3 days, for 3 days, to help you come off medications. And I believe this is going to be powerful for a lot of people. So if you have family or friends who are, one, suffering from diabetes, or two, just wanting to experience a healthy lifestyle through whole food, plant-based diet and eating, check out this live. It's going to be next. I was going to say next year, January 27th to 29th, 3 days, January 27th to 29th. We'll have the details. You just scan the code. You'll get an email, and then we'll keep you updated as time goes on. So I'll have, during our lives, I'll keep posting this QR code, giving you guys opportunity to sign up for this free workshop that we'll meet online and experience a diabetes 180 if that's what you need to experience, right? This is your chance. And it's, again, man, it's free. So why not? Why not? All right. So, beloved, I pray above all things that you may prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. We'll see you next week.